It was on this day, June 17, 1930, U.S. President Herbert Hoover signing into law the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act, one of the most controversial trade policies in world history. The legislation increased tariffs on roughly 40% of the goods coming into the U.S., as much as to 59%. Extra import taxes that ostensibly were intended to protect U.S. jobs. Now, while Calvin Coolidge, the former president known for pro-business policies, praised the tariffs for securing the American market for the products of the American workmen, there was an almost unanimous plea by economists at the time not to pass the Smoot-Hawley Act. Walter Lippmann, the country's preeminent columnist at the time, calling it a wretched and mischievous product of stupidity and greed. Even the U.S. Senate, on its official website today, calls Smoot-Hawley among the most catastrophic acts in congressional history. That's a quote. To understand that catastrophe, you have to remember that back in the 1920s, that was a golden age for the U.S. economy. GDP was growing at a 5% rate in real terms from 1921 to 1929. But that prosperity, it was brought to an end by several policy missteps, including those tariffs that ultimately made the U.S. consumer poorer and foreign exporters angrier. Foreign governments retaliated with their own tariffs, and that exacerbated U.S. inflation. It contributed to the Great Depression, and it cost President Herbert Hoover his re-election campaign just 2 years later. Now, with 94 years past and with 5 months before the next presidential election, tariffs and their effects are back in the spotlight. Current President Joe Biden, building on his predecessor's levies on Chinese imports, saying back in May that China's industrial and trade policies are putting U.S. competitors at a disadvantage, and the only remedy was higher tariffs. Now, some of those key changes do kick in this year and next. That includes a 25% tariff slapped on critical minerals like cobalt and zinc, a doubling of tariffs on Chinese chips all the way up to 50%, a tripling of tariffs on steel and aluminum to 25%, and a quadrupling to 100% for tariffs made on Chinese-made electric vehicles.